Hey everyone, this is Sean Heminger. I'm starting a new video series on just different leadership books that have impacted my life and the value I found in them over the years. And I'm going to be doing these a little bit differently each one. They're not going to all be the same, or I'm not going to be in this little bubble thing that I'm in right over here. And anyway, our first book that we're going to talk about is probably my number one favorite all-time leadership book. Now, for years, since I was in my early 20s, I've always read at least one leadership book, one spiritual Christianity book, and then a biography or something else. Those were the three staples. And then once I read those three, I would start that process over, and as many as I can get done. But there's some books that just really stand out among the rest. And this first one is The Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick somebody or another. I can't say his name well. Sorry about that. And I absolutely love this book. It has been the one I have read over and over again. I've read it multiple times. If I can talk about leadership, it's usually going to come from a principle from this book. And let's just look at some of the main concepts he has. Now, he writes it a little bit uniquely. If you don't like a book that just goes right into the content and is trying to develop an idea, but you like more of that story format, this book is ideal. Like, he writes it as a fable, and majority of it's in story form. And he walks you through a story that goes through these different concepts that he presents. And it's the process of this manager having to help a business get healthy. And anyway, these are the five basic things that if these are lacking in any regards in your team, if it's a business, if it's ministry, if it's in school leadership team, even among teachers, you're going to have a breakdown. You're not going to produce the outcomes that you're wanting. And I've experienced that firsthand in several incidences. But just looking at this diagram, I just want to highlight these first two, that any relationship is built on trust. And if you can't build trust between your team members or cultivate that, you're not going to be able to really be a productive team. If one team member isolates or was never being willing to make themselves vulnerable, not like in a negative way, but just being genuine and real, where there's no team, no trust, your team is already broken. And then the next category is, it says fear of conflict. I think in the book it says fear of argument. And we have a negative connotation to conflict or argument, but over the years I'm like, why do we? Like, we think of it negatively, but it's not really a negative word. When we have an argument, it doesn't have to be fighting. It's just that we have a difference of opinions, and how do we honor one another, respect one another, where we actually are actively listening to each other's views, and then we're able to compromise as a team to come together when we need to. That fear of conflict can also relate to if I am, as a team member, and being felt like I'm being walked over or things are not going well, and I can't approach you to address an issue because I'm afraid of how you're going to react, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this false harmony, this false feeling like everything's going well, and you might think everything is going well because I'm avoiding it, but really internally in me, I'm not being the best partner that I can be. And the same thing with the other one, or maybe the other person is creating that atmosphere where it's like it's not conducive to ever address an issue. And again, so if you are afraid to be able to talk and have differences of opinion, then your commitment level is already getting compromised. And you can't even get to these levels if there's not trust between them. And I just seen over the years different teams. I've seen different teacher groups be put together, and people assuming they know how to build that trust, how to build that working relationship. I've seen ministry teams where you have really one person who's dominating and is like cuts off things. It's like, you either do what they say or you don't do it. And again, that's an unhealthy team. And it was actually my situation where I felt like there was issues between me and a few of my team members. So when I was at this conference and I saw this book, I'm like, man, I don't know. I just saw the title and I'm like, I think my team is dysfunctional. And so I picked it up and I'm grateful that I did. It has really shaped the way that I approach other people. It has shaped how I view of people sharing different perspectives on problems, how I try and want to try to allow people to share different views, and how I try to build trust with my colleagues now that maybe I wasn't so good at in the beginning. I'm definitely somebody who's growing. I'm not claiming to master any of these things, but it's all about growth, right? So if you work with teams, you work with other individuals, it might be one or it might be a large group, whatever it is, if they have multiple roles and you're part of that, I encourage you to check this out. If you are a leader over a group of people, I encourage you to consider getting this for your team and doing this book study, because it is a great book that can only benefit your team and help them to see things that they may not recognize that they are doing or not doing to be effective. So, anywho, I think this is probably the number one book that I keep going back to. It's my all-time favorite, and I want you to enjoy it as well. If you are facing a group that you feel is maybe unhealthy, that there's some bad practices, this has a chart in the back that you get. It's just simple questions that you can write it through with numbers 1 through 5 or something like that, and it will actually tell you what area that you might be suffering in, and it's very eye-opening and it's intriguing. The first part, as I said, is a fable. The second part is just addressing these 5 areas. So let me know what you think. Have you read this book? Would you pick it up? And what book has helped you with working with teams? Thanks, and have a great day.